new here, my name's Martin, and with this channel I'm hoping to share some of my experiences now that I've retired. You join me today, several days since the end of the last vlog. I've caught up with quite a lot of friends, made a trip back to Ely, did some shopping, got some diesel, and now on the way back I'm going, turn right at Pope's Corner, and I'm going up the Old West. I've only gone probably about 500 metres up the Old West. I've stayed here on this mooring for about a day and a half, and I'm now going to head a short distance further on, where I can hopefully find somewhere to moor up for the rest of the weekend. Okay, if you want to join me, please do. Just approaching Streatham Old Engine. There looks to be space on the mooring. I'm pretty sure there's space on the mooring, if that is the mooring in front. So it looks as if we're in luck. Hello again. I'm just leaving Streatham Old Engine mooring. Been here a couple of days. quite nice and restful. But I'm moving on now. Further on up the Old West, we go. It's a little bit breezy, so you might get a little bit of wind noise on the mic. It's overcast for the most part. There aren't many blue patches, but should be a nice cruise. It's new water for me, so I've no idea what to expect. Okay, let's have a cup of tea, sit back and enjoy. And if you want to join me, bring some cake. Oh my, this is like being on the canal again. But this is narrow. I've been seeing some of the big cruisers that came past me yesterday, width-wise. Not sure they'd get down here. There's some fantastic trees here, old willows, that have possibly been pollarded in the past, but have started sort of splitting apart and created some fantastic shapes. Yes, they have been pollarded in the past, but yeah, fantastic shapes. And we're now about to cross underneath the A10. You may be able to pick up the road noise. Right, I think we've got quite a fairly narrow and quite wiggly route now to Aldrich. It's about, I don't know, just over 4 miles maybe, so yeah, hope you got your tea ready, cup of tea that is, and enjoy. I haven't filmed them, but I've just gone past really quite a raggedy arse group of cows or fatteners, young cows, laying down in a field alongside the river, and it contrasts quite starkly with a group that are on the opposite side of the river, which looked as if they were all laying down, but they looked as if they might have been Herefords. And they were in top condition, but the Heinz 57 variety that were on the right hand side really did look, yeah, a bit downtrodden, shall we say, used. I'm sure when they've had plenty of rest and plenty to eat they'll pick up, but yeah, they didn't look, not going to make a lot of money on them, let's put it that way. Dear, it's like somebody's boat bit the dust there, or bit something. See the bow section and the what looks like the stern section. I think I noticed just rounding that next bend there's another boat in front of me which I haven't seen all morning, so they must be going quite slowly. This coming up is 20 pence road bridge. I believe back in the day there used to be a toll bridge here, and it was a penny per person to cross, and tuppence, that's 2p, if you had a bike. Nasty looking black clouds up ahead. Wasn't forecast any rain, but hey ho. We're not far now. I think those trees up ahead mark around about where the bridge, the Aldrich, I think it's called Aldrich High Bridge, is, and the mooring's about half a mile the other side, so not far now. Incidentally, that boat that I passed earlier, it was going really slow, which is why I caught up with it so quickly. He speeded up and is now keeping pace with me about 100 metres behind me. I'm not quite sure how I managed to catch him up so quickly, because I'm doing exactly the same speed I was when I caught him up. So I don't know whether they'd stopped or whether they'd come out of the marina or what, but he was going mighty slow when he got into sight and I caught up with him. But yeah, he's pulled out the stops. Morning. That was a very nice mooring. I stayed there for a couple of days, the second of which I was all on my own. Saw a couple of barn owls this morning hunting along the riverbank, which was very nice. So now I'm heading towards, Erith. I think I'm going to stop in Erith if there's a mooring, but I've got a lock to go through, and Erith is on a tidal river, so that'll be interesting. So if I can find a mooring, I can stay in Erith. I could really do with some bread and bits and pieces, but not essential. So yeah, join me, sit back and enjoy it. This is the B1050. Despite it being a B road, it's actually quite a significant commuter route into Cambridge. Although it's not very busy at the moment, but it's after 9 o'clock, so I imagine everybody's at work by now, except me. Okay, well, we're approaching Hermitage Lock. I think there's a boat in front of me and the lights are red, so this one's got a lock keeper, so I suspect that we'll have to wait a little while. I think there might be a queue, but hopefully there's space on the lock landing for me. We'll see in a minute. Okay, well, for a short time anyway, we're back on the Great Ouse. Certainly noticed the difference when you come out of the lock. It's much wider, whether that's the same all the way down, but I'll just get past this little boat. I'm not going far. Hopefully there's a mooring in Erith, and if there is, I'm going to find the little village shop and finish doing some editing, and then chill out, and then probably move closer to St Ives tomorrow, but we'll see. Race, mate, I'll wait. On the right here is the old Bedford River. It's one of the channels, I believe this one's got a sluice on it as well. It's one of the channels that Vermuyden oversaw the excavation of, and it's called the Old Bedford because there is a new Bedford, but Bedford as in the Duke of Bedford commissioned, or was one of the adventurers that put the money in to commission the drainage of the fens. So you can see the sluices there. Good morning. Only one night at I think it was Westview Marina public moorings. Had the dubious pleasure of having quite an objectionable person mooring up alongside me overnight. He turned up while I was having dinner and then complained because I didn't help him moor up, so I don't know what that's all about. He could have pulled up in front of me and then waited until I'd finished dinner, but no. So I thought, well, I don't want to stay there anymore. Yeah, he's welcome to that mooring. I'm going to move on. It's not an ideal day for cruising, it's windy. Looks like rain, but yeah, not sure. The common sandpiper just flown across in front of it, which was nice. Yeah, I'll just make my way further on, find somewhere a little quieter, and then settle down for the rest of the day. We're approaching Browns Hill Staunch Lock. This is the first lock, apart from the quite simple flood lock at Upware, this is the first lock I've had to do myself for quite some time. So this will be interesting. It looks like a double guillotine, and it looks as if I can go straight in. I think from what I can see here, there doesn't look to be much difference in level, so this shouldn't take too long. I think the other level's almost the same. Quite a side current here, it's whipped me away from the lock. Better. close the second gate and reopen the first gate again. I'm not sure what the protocols are, so I'm going to leave it as I found it. It was a bit tricky getting away from the bank there, but hey ho, we're off. Well, that lot wasn't too bad. There wasn't much difference in the water levels, and I've come up. I thought I would be going down, but I'm come up. But it was the same old slow process. Hey ho, we're on our way now. Just past a set of Goba moorings. They were empty, they looked quite nice. It's in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to go on to Holywell, and there's quite a few moorings there. See if there's anything that suits me. And if I can't find anything, I should turn around and come back here. Trouble is with here, it's quite away from the shops. Whereas Holywell, I could cycle to an Aldi and probably get all the shopping I need to get me back to Ely. After this morning's little episode, I'm feeling a little bit sort of down, a little bit used, if you like. That idiot this morning really had quite a, yeah, he was quite unpleasant. So perhaps need a good bike ride to get it out of my system. Oh, is it? This is St John the Baptist Church in Holywell. Unfortunately it's locked, so I can't go in, but down there is where Holywell gets its name, and there is the Holy Well. And apparently through the village there are various springs that crop up, and indeed as I came up here I saw several sort of wet patches on the road where water had come out from what you would assume would be a gutter and then run across the road, but we actually haven't had any decent rain for quite a while, so everywhere's dry. So I'm assuming that there's some of the springs. I'll drop some shots of them in here. There are a couple of the wet splashes across the road. As I say, when you look at them, they look as if they've been running for, well, ages. But yeah, they must be some of the springs that are spoken of. It's quite sad to reflect on a story that surrounds the village. It relates to a young lady who lived in the village around about 1,000 years ago in 1050. Her name was Juliet Tousley. Now apparently Juliet was a happy-go-lucky girl who apparently didn't have a care in the world. But one day, whilst walking home through the woods, she spied a local woodcutter by the name of Thomas Zool. He was a broad-shouldered, handsome fellow, and Juliet fell madly in love with him at first sight. Now Juliet kept a daily early morning vigil in the woods, waiting to see her Romeo. Legend has it that one day, unable to remain silent any longer, Juliet picked a bunch of flowers for Tom and waited until he approached her, hiding place within the trees. When he came along the woodland track, Juliet came out trembling and offered Tom her bunch of flowers. Tom, who apparently preferred a game of ninepins and a glass of ale to the company of girls, told her to go home to her mother, pushed her out of the way and walked on his merry way. The flowers fell to the ground and Juliet collapsed beside them with a broken heart. When nightfall came, she steadily made her way back to an outhouse by the side of her cottage and took out a roll of hemp rope. On the March the 17th, at midnight, she made her way to a tree opposite the ferryboat inn where she knew Thomas would be, threw the rope over a low-lying branch, and she hung herself. The whole village mourned for Juliet, but in those days, because suicide was regarded as a terrible crime, the magistrates deemed that she shouldn't be buried in a graveyard, but would be buried near the crossroads as a warning to all. The body was buried near the ferryboat inn at the crossroads, and because she had taken her own life, only a single slab of granite marked the grave. A few years later, new cottages were being built in the village, and beer consumption at the ferryboat started to increase, and a new wing was added to the pub. And permission was granted to the innkeeper to build it over Juliet's grave, which was now marked by a single granite slab. That single granite slab can still be seen in the floor of the ferryboat. It's slightly larger and slightly higher than the surrounding floor, so it's easy to see. Here, the ferryboat inn. If you come in this way, it's well worth a visit. Good beer, nice food, pleasant surroundings. Yeah, it's well worth it. Well, good morning. Just a quick message. I'm now making my way back down the Old West towards Pope's Corner. I'm going to pop in at Wickham to say cheerio to everybody. Then I'm going to start my journey back down the Great Ouse, through the middle level, and then along back up the River Nene. Spent the last couple of days editing this vlog, and because there are some sort of interesting features along this part of the river, well, not least of which is it's actually quite complex in the history of it, so I want to touch on that a little bit, but it'd be too much for this vlog. It would become an hour, and I don't like them being that long. I like them to be between sort of 30-35 minutes, something like that. So I'm going to do a separate vlog for that, and there's also some interesting facts about there's a fort, an earth fort at Erith. And again, if I tag that onto this, that's going to take it to sort of 45 minutes. So what I'm going to do is do a separate vlog for that as well. And I think this might potentially become a bit of a feature. There's so many things of interest, and when you try and edit it into a cruising video, you end up sort of chopping bits out that you don't really want to chop out, just to keep it to a reasonable duration. So I'm going to have a go at doing some sort of fun facts videos, if you like. I don't know what I'll call them, but if that makes sense to you, then drop something in the comments below. If you don't like the idea, drop something in the comments below, let me know what you think, and we'll take it from there. So if you've stuck it this far, then thanks very much. If you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to know about these fun facts, or whatever they're going to be called, or the next part of the journey, then click on the notification bell, and YouTube will send you notifications when they're released. And if you've liked this or enjoyed this, or you think it's worthwhile supporting, then give us a thumbs up. Okay, take it easy.